Hello there, my name is Pete, and I am a solo developer, entrepreneur. I've launched lots of SaaS products, made some great money, and I just want to share like 9 or 10 lessons and a bunch of resources that have been really helpful for me. So start cultivating a personal brand now. If you already have an email list filled with people from past projects, great. If you don't, everything you do now, tie it all back to an email list. I say email list, or, if you're really big on Twitter, by all means, like promote social media, but email list is always just going to be king. I'll just be really honest. I would not have made as much money in the past year if I did not have an audience. I already had an audience. It wasn't massive. It's not 20,000 people. It's more like 5,000 people on my email list, but they've been following me largely for a while. And so it helped to kick off projects. It didn't account for all of the revenue I made, but it definitely helped kickstart a bunch of the things I shipped. I'm just being really honest. That's my secret. But if you don't have this, start now. I will say I attended some marketing conferences, some conferences in my niches. That and YouTube. It's not just this YouTube channel. I have 3 YouTube channels. It helped a bit to get a little bit of acquisition, but largely everything came from this audience I've been building up from blogging, podcasting, YouTube, webinars, conferences, apps, partnerships, affiliates, everything goes back to a personal brand. By the way, I did lots of product hunt stuff for a couple of launches. Nothing. Literally nothing. Attach your name to everything and point back to the email list. Lesson number 1. Lesson number 2, ship a lot. You hear this advice a lot, but I really want to kind of triple down, and this one's actually going to argue with myself, so hang on a second. I shipped about probably like 10 projects. I was trying to count how many. At least 7 that the public actually saw and paid for, and 1 or 2 of them are free. I would say I did this kind of unintentionally. I was just excited about things, and I had lots of business ideas, but looking back now, I could say without a doubt that some of my bigger money makers would not have happened if I didn't learn from some of these other projects. If I'd just done one and it made a little bit of money, Fab is the first one I ever created. I just sold it. It was great. I'm super happy with that. But if I just stuck with that, none of these other ones would have happened, and I think I would actually be behind the curve. We are in a sprint right now in the AI creating, coding space, where 2 years from now, it is going to be way harder to ship a product and make money, even probably a year from now. I mean, exponentially harder, just because of the way AI is going. More people are going to have access to it, to these tools. Less people are going to need SaaS products 2 years from now, because Siri will just do everything for you at this point, or something, right? That dystopian future. So ship a lot and ship now. Do it today. Start today. Ship today. Even if you don't have an audience, just make things. You will figure out a lot of lessons along the way. Now, to argue this with myself a little bit, a mistake I made, I've never learned this. If you have something that's making money and shows potential, ship less. Double down on that. Triple down on that. I'm terrible at this. I'm like the least focused person when it comes to individual projects. And I really should have focused on my first 3 apps, because all 3 of them actually showed decent promise. They were making money beyond my little circle of influence. They were attracting attention, and I kind of just kept going and went on to other things. And the next 2 or 3 did not make nearly as much money, and the other ones just kind of died off. I probably should have focused harder once I had something that started making a little bit of money. Lesson 4, don't be afraid of partners. I've never had a business partner until this year, and I'll tell you a really quick story about how this happened. I wanted to sell one of my apps. I had only created it, I think I had it going for like a month and a half, and I didn't have a subscription for the SaaS product. It's called Topical Map AI. You can go look at it. I slapped some subscriptions on there. I was like, I'm going to do this and just sell it for like $10,000 and just be done and just move on, right? And I found a guy who was offered to pay me to buy it or come on as a 50-50 partner. And this person had a lot of marketing opportunities. They could promote it. They have literally an agency. They could do SEO, Facebook ads. They have some people they could bring on as partners or whatever. I had nothing to lose because I was just going to sell the app for cheap and be done with it. So I was like, sure, why not? I've already built the app. Well, spoiler alert, I had to do a lot more work because they wanted to improve the app, which is fine. I signed on for that. But I have been so happy that I made a deal with my partners and they promoted it. And now it's almost, I don't know what the MRR is right now, but it's several $1,000s a month. It's probably like 6-7K a month. Rolling along, right? And we can hopefully grow that a little bit more and sell it for $500,000 hopefully in like 6 months or something. One of the best decisions I ever made. And I was super terrified of bringing on partners. I didn't know how to do it. I'd never worked with it, like profit sharing before, none of that. Equity, I'd never done any of that before. And it turns out it was super simple, and I wish I'd done it sooner. So speaking of being afraid, I had never sold a business before. Before 3 weeks ago, I just sold one. And I gotta say, the entire process was surprisingly simple and easy. I was a little terrified that I wasn't gonna be able to transfer it right, and I didn't want to give up like my baby, my app that I built. Well, that didn't matter, turns out. I think one thing that I did well that made it easier was I quote unquote built it to sell, meaning right from the get-go, I structured all of my tool stacks, the app itself. I structured everything with the intention of I'm going to sell this one day. That is a mindset. That's like a different approach when you're building something that will make things way easier. And also, there's a book by this. I don't remember the guy's name who wrote it. Built to Sell. It's not a great book. It could have been a blog post. But one point is when you approach your business that way, even if you're a developer coding something, it'll largely make the product better. Probably. It'll be easier to hire people because hopefully you have some SOPs in place and documentation in place. I did all that right from the get-go, and I think that made this transition on selling it way more clear, way simpler, way easier. Lesson number 6 here. Never let a project sit if it's making money. I.e., I just sold this app a couple of weeks ago. I should have sold it 10 months ago. I would have gotten 3-4 times the price. I abandoned it when it was making money. It was making money, several $1,000s a month. I'd gotten it up to, and I started shipping more things. Again, going back to this unfocused thing, I think, so a lot of these projects up here, promptimizer.com is one that I launched. It didn't make any money. It's fine. It works, but it's not like a big money maker. That one should have been okay for me to just like, okay, stop, moving on, next thing. We'll see if I can find something that makes money. Same thing with these two that I launched. One of these was free. One of these was like really low priced. They did not work. They didn't work. Nobody wanted to buy it. The product's actually not that great. I'm not ashamed to say it. And I needed to drop these like hot potatoes and move on to something that works and makes money. But the problem was I had a few things that were making money, and I kind of just let them sit. I thought, oh, cool, yay, passive income. I don't have to do a whole lot more work here. I still answered customer support emails, but I wasn't shipping new features. There were still a few bugs that kind of lasted a couple of months. I should have fixed earlier. And I think I really slowed down the growth. And I should have sold it at that point. Instead of letting it sit, I should have just sold it. I could have made a lot more money. I sold way too late. There you go. Lesson number 7. New developers, especially, pick a framework, a programming language, and then just stick with it. Stop. Don't worry about the shiny new thing that just came out. All of these frameworks, Vue, React, Next.js, SvelteKit, like all these things, they're starting to become more similar to each other over time, I feel like, especially like the past year. They keep releasing new features that are like more like each other. So just pick something and stay with it. I use SvelteKit, Firebase for my backend, mostly the database and the authentication. Firebase Auth is really great, I think. I use Tailwind CSS because I don't like dealing with CSS. I use Daisy UI for some like theming and components. I use Stripe, and that's it. I don't do anything else. And then for my apps with Open AI, I of course use OpenAI and Anthropic. I don't have any desire whatsoever to learn a new framework. Pick something and stick with it. Lesson number 8, never start from scratch. This will be a little controversial. I feel like boilerplate code templates there's a dime a dozen, right? There's a ton of them for all the frameworks you can imagine. You can go out and find this and you pay $150 for it, whatever. I don't think a lot of those are that great for new developers. If you are just starting out and you want to ship an app, I hesitate to say this, but I almost say, okay, now you can start from scratch. Once you have done one project, never start from scratch again. You can reuse your old code. It's to make it better. Or hopefully by that point, maybe you've learned a little bit. If you want to buy a template, now you know a lot more of what you're doing and what you're looking for. That is okay. Go for it. Don't buy one when you first start off, just because you have so much to learn. It's going to suck. It's going to take longer to ship your first app, I think. But after you do that, start reusing code, like copying and pasting into new projects. I actually created one for myself. I actually bought a domain name. I was going to sell it. AppFlash. Don't go there. There's literally nothing there. I still use it for myself. It's not for sale. Maybe I should. Maybe I should slap a $99 price tag on it. If you pay me for that, let me know in the comments, and I'll happily make money from you. No, but once you have some code that you built before and it works, copy and paste, baby. That's the life of a developer. Copy and paste, copy and paste. Lesson number 9 here. For sure, follow other people, right? Other indie devs, entrepreneurs, developers, that sort of stuff. But follow them in 2 different ways. Number 1, read their blog posts, read their tweets, listen to their podcasts, watch their YouTube videos, for sure, right? Okay, take their advice. But that's only half of it. The other half is watch what they are doing. If you're following somebody who's not actually shipping products, go follow somebody else. Find somebody who's actively launching things and making money from things and selling from things. That's important. And watch what they do. Watch what they do. I've been following, here's a few other people. We'll get to this in a little bit. Peter Levels, Ian, Mark. I follow these people not just for their emails, but to see what projects they're working on. What are they doing? What are they leaning into? What are the new things they're trying? I'm really big into that, right? Follow them for the meta game, if you will. Listen to what they say, but also watch what they do, right? Some of the stuff that they don't talk about necessarily in the emails, but you see them doing, try and read into that. So those are the lessons. Here's some extra stuff that I just kind of took some notes on. Some business ideas. First and foremost, everyone says this, but this is, I think, the easiest way to get started, period. Scratch your own itch. Not all, but most of the businesses I started were scratching my own itch. I paid an agency thousands of dollars for a SEO topical map for a new website I was doing. It took 6 weeks. It cost several $1,000s. And at the end of it, I was like, oh my God, I could have just done a version of this with AI in a minute and a half. And so I did that. I built Topical Map AI. It was a big pain point, and it's worked pretty well, right? Scratch your own itch. Scratch your own itch. I think this is more of a mindset thing that you can't just like sit down and like brainstorm this. You have to develop a mindset of, wow, that was a pain in the rear. Oh, maybe I could solve this problem. Wow, that was a pain in the rear. Maybe I can solve this problem. Start incredibly small and niche. If you're it's new people, I think it's better to, if you have 3 features for a similar app, make them 3 different apps to begin with. I think smaller is better. You have a better chance of like getting attention from your customers this way, right? They say niche down. You hear this all the time in marketing. Niche down, niche down, niche down. I do think that's important, especially to start. Some of these projects probably could have been rolled up into one. I'm thinking, Fab.ai, created content, Topical Map AI, researched content. I could have made these 2 different things, I feel like. But just branding, positioning, marketing, I think it's a lot easier when you do niche down. It's pretty, you hear that advice all the time, but I do think that's relevant. So this is a magical world we live in. Cloning big apps that already exist is a completely viable business model right now because of AI. You can't, let's take DocuSign. I've never used DocuSign because I just use their competitors. DocuSign's the big one, right? I'm doubting myself. Electronic signatures, DocuSign. You could do some version of this, maybe not all of the features, but you could do the big features, or maybe just one feature of this app in 24 hours. You could build this with AI, right? And you could charge a fraction of what they do. You have the contact sales. Any app that says contact sales, I'm immediately no. Why would it sounds expensive, right? You can clone the big guys and do a few things different, and it's a completely different marketing strategy. Do the same thing, but cheap. This is, again, it's not a pricing strategy for the sake of money. It's actually a marketing strategy. I was trying to think of another example. There are apps out there that cost at minimum $150 a month. Rebuild that app, or at least the one feature of that app, and charge $5 a month, and that makes waves. That gets attention. That is marketing built into your app. Another thing is take it one step further. So steal an app or a feature that is really simple and take it one step further. So this is exactly what I did with Fab.ai. So there were already lots of AI tools that created blog posts, right? Writing a blog post with AI is nothing new. People have been doing that for years. Jasper, Jarvis.ai, whatever it was called, and a million others. I took it one step further. I was like, okay, what if I did a bunch of posts at one time? You just upload a bunch of article ideas, keywords at the time, and hit one button, and Fab.ai will just do all of them. Fully autonomous blog bot is what that stood for. No one knew what it meant. But I took it one step further. Have one simple little thing, take it one step further. Another one I will say is copying and pasting is super annoying. Both of these businesses right here, these don't make a ton of money. These are just like little side projects. These are basically spreadsheets, but with click to copy. Meaning if I go to apptracker.co, hopefully I'm logged in here. I'm not going to be logged in. The point is I basically just made a spreadsheet where people could, add stuff into a database or whatever and click to copy. Because I was getting tired of searching for affiliate links and trying to find them. If I just and shortcuts, right? Keyboard shortcuts and click to copy. This is a URL that I use like all the time for another YouTube video. Just boom, copy that, paste, right? Click to copy. There's entire business models built on that. That's what these two things are. They're spreadsheets, but a tiny bit fancier. Databases, but a tiny bit fancier. Database businesses are fine, but I think they just need a little bit extra. And click to copy is totally it's the easiest thing in the world to code, but no one puts this in their app. Shortcuts, hotkeys, those things matter. Those things are like literally building those businesses right there. So you can totally steal people's ideas, honestly, make them a little bit better, take it one step further, make them dirt cheap if something is like really expensive. One thing to avoid, anything that requires a network effect. Don't build the next Twitter, the next Blue Sky. Don't build the next TikTok or Facebook or social media, anything, right? Anything that requires a network effect, as in the network effect, if you don't know, the more users it has, the more valuable it is. Social media with 5 users across the world, people who don't know each other, is absolutely useless. The more users Facebook has, the more valuable it becomes for existing users. Don't do anything like that just because it requires more than you have to give. And then last but not least, you get this all the time. Just go into Reddit communities and then find business ideas. It's still brilliant advice. It still works. Something I got into a couple of weeks ago was NAS, Network Attached Storage. I built my own, not the wrapper, I built my own NAS, and I got involved into a lot of different subreddits. Okay, that's not it either. Ignore me. But the point is, if you're in a niche, in an industry, go to Reddit and start browsing the communities. Spend time there every day. Be on that platform. I think it's still the best for finding little SaaS product ideas. I do. A couple of other resources. Obviously, Windsurf, Cursor, Copilots from GitHub or whatnot. The AI editors, right? I'm using Windsurf currently, but I actually think Cursor.sh is a little bit better. I will link to my comparison and tutorial videos on these apps below this video. You're welcome to go read that. Makebook or readmake.com, I think is the other domain name here. Oh, this is right. This is Peter Level's book from years ago, a couple of years ago, but he keeps it updated. This is a really good book. It is so streamlined, I feel like, for learning how to get into this journey. That you can see like just the glowing testimonials. By the way, go through and follow every single one of these people. These are the people you want to start following. That's a good book. Go read that. It's worth it. Podcast for Business Ideas, My First Million, I think is my favorite here. I'm not a huge fan of those guys. They kind of annoy me in some ways. But if you're just looking for business ideas, go and listen to this podcast, the archives even from years ago, and you'll still get just little nuggets, I think, sprinkled throughout there. Syntax.fm is my favorite podcast for developers. Really like those guys. If you have no idea what you're doing, if you're not a developer, just listen to 50 episodes of this podcast and you will be smarter and figure things out better. You'll absorb it. You will. YouTube, Net Ninja, I think, has the best full-on courses for developers. That's where I learned my very first app, promptomizer.com. I went through NetNinja's course on SvelteKit. It was already like 2 or 3 years old, I think, at this point. But just go find this guy. He has everything: mobile apps, web apps,
Let's
anything.
be honest.
Right?
Algorithms can
HTML,
feel
CSS. Start with
overwhelming
those.
to learn about,
Flutter,
but
Dart.
they don't have to be.
Everything right there. I really like NetNinja, and it's all free. Ian Nudall, I don't know how to say his last name. He does a lot of programmatic SEO stuff, but I like following him. He shares a lot of stuff openly. Mark Liu, not my favorite guy maybe, but he does share a lot. He's very generous as well, I feel like. No-code email lists are actually a wealth of business ideas. A lot of the no-code email lists will just straight up give you a bunch of ideas in each email. Not all of them, but just start searching for like no-code people, no-code MBA. Try and find those people on Blue Sky or whatnot. Find their email list. You'll get a lot of great ideas from these like no-code email lists. And last but not least, me. So you can go to PeteMcPherson.com. I think there's an opt-in on the homepage. There is. I send a super simple weekly email. It's like half useful and half fun. Very little sales. Go join that. PeteMcPherson.com. If you have any questions or comments, let me know in the description below this video. That's all I got, man. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Adios.